September the 4th, Picks edition of the MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with the promo code MLB SGPN to score up to $1,000 in bonus cash. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Make sure to enter the free roll football contest as well. Up to $3,500 in prizes up for grabs. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/free roll to enter today. Welcome everybody to the MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. My name is Malcolm Bamford, coming to you from Newcastle upon Tyne in the northeast of England. Today is Tuesday, September the 3rd. We are here to have a look around the main action across MLB for Wednesday, the 4th of September. Joining me from somewhere in New York is Mr. Scott Reichel. Hello, mate. How are you?
Good. How's it going with you?
Yeah, fine, thank you. What's been going on? How's the tennis treating everybody? Any winners?
Can't complain. Ended up doing 2 episodes last night because I did the women's quarterfinals as well. So nothing for the Lock and Dogs yet. Those matches haven't happened yet, but should be a pretty fun overall set of matches. Another match going on right now between Fritz and Zverev's pretty entertaining. So I'll see what happens there. But yeah, so far so good. Can't complain.
Oh, I'll stick that on then, Scott. If who will be cheering on? Because Munaf was live sweating one last night. So
I'm going to be honest. I don't have any action on this one because it seems like the match is going over anyway. So I don't know if it matters. There's more of a totals opinion, but I'm rooting for Fritz. So he's up 2-1. So I'll see what happens.
Oh, obviously USA. I understand. Patriotic, Scott. I've been to the ponies tonight. I had a little Newcastle racecourse is about a mile and a half from my front door. So me and my daughter have started going up. If you go after the first couple of races, they just abandon the gates. You can just walk in for nothing. And we don't go mad gambling because obviously she's a child. So we just put £10 each in. We put some little 10 pence and 20 pence round robins and parlays, and we cheered on a few horses. She had one winner, 5-1. So yeah, that's good fun. But nice on a weekday night, you can just have, there's no crowd, so you can have a little wander around the stables, you can get outside the weighing room, you can go to the back of the stand, you can go to the finish line, you can go to the start line. We went absolutely everywhere and had a wander around looking at the horses, so I enjoyed that. And then back to handicap some baseball this evening. As it stands, I think everyone's aware now that we're concentrating on the main action. So we're kind of looking, even then, we're still looking at 3/4 of the games, and we will probably dot around some of the others as well, just in case we don't miss anything. No baseball today, Tuesday. No baseball on Tuesday, so no action since myself and Munaf recorded. But tomorrow starts with a 3:07, so there's one day game tomorrow, 3:07 Eastern. Is the Philadelphia Phillies at the Toronto Blue Jays. It is left-handed pitcher Christopher Sanchez for the Phillies. Bowden Francis takes the start for the Blue Jays. Tight on the books, -122, the Phillies. The Blue Jays are a small home underdog at +104, and the total sits at 8.5. Quite a intriguing looking game this. You've got a picture in Sanchez who was going really well early in the season, fell off a little bit, and then he's actually pulled himself together again. He got to a bit of a crossroads where he could have gone one of two ways, but he's been fine. He's had back-to-back starts against Atlanta, struck out 8 Braves on both occasions. He had a complete game, 1 earned run effort against Washington the time before that. His home road splits are stark and not in favour of this road spot. But he's actually steadied that ship a little bit lately as well. So I've got no issues with Sanchez. Francis, though, is a real interesting one. He's a real talking horse at the moment. He's put up a stunning sequence, frankly. 4 games, his last 4 games, 29 innings, 32 strikeouts, and only 2 earned runs across 4 wins in that span. The game totals are all low. The game totals of 6, 1, 4, and 2 in those 4 games. So I like those stats for Francis towards the under. But what backs it up is that Sanchez is 4 and 1 for the first 5 under as well in his last 5 starts. So both of those things together, and I absolutely adore Scott. Strong feeling here. The first 5 under in this game.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to agree with you. Thought about taking Toronto first 5, actually, because Francis has been really good.
Yep.
You mentioned Sanchez's road numbers have been underwhelming. That's definitely true, too. Philly, though, had a nice series against Atlanta over the last few days. Did win 3 out of 4, I believe, in that one. But to mention Sanchez's overall numbers on the road, a 5.43 ERA. He also has been fine lately, but he does give up some home runs, giving up 4 home runs in his last 3 starts. So we'll see if he can keep the ball in the ballpark. Don't mind the first 5 under, but I do think that Francis, if he trusts his current form, there might be some value maybe on the first 5 if you want to go for Toronto. I don't trust them full game because I don't like their bullpen at all, but I think Francis can go well early. So I think I'll go with the Blue Jays first 5. If you want to go for the first 5 under, though, I don't hate it, but Sanchez's road numbers are kind of concerning to me. So I'll back Toronto first 5.
Remember, Bowden Francis is our 2025 strikeout leader as well. If you're looking for some way too early action, I haven't had a look at the chat yet. Gio was first in. Gio, welcome along. How you doing? Roberto's joined us as well. If you are kicking around, by all means, say hello and throw us out a pick or 2. Do not forget to go and consume Sean and Ryan's football content for the big NFL kickoff, which is what, 2 days now, around about 50 hours from where we are right now, picking every game against the spread as they have done since 2011. And the free roll football contest, $3,500 in cash up for grabs. Sign up at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/free roll, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/free roll. Next game we are going to look at here, we're going to zip past White Sox getting shellacked off the Orioles. The only reason I mention that is the return of time-travelling dingers. I gave out Gunnar Henderson last night, about 20 minutes before he hit a home run the night before I needed him to. So that was nice to know. Slightly comforting to know we can still pick dingers a game too early. But we go to a 6:40 Eastern between the Houston Astros and the Cincinnati Reds. Spencer Arrighetti starts for Houston. Nick Martinez goes for the Cincinnati Reds, who are home underdogs at +114. The Astros -134. And the total, Scott, is 9.
I think I have to go with Arrighetti here. Even though I was roasting him earlier this season, he's kind of turned it around. He's been good lately. In fact, I'm kind of underselling because he had a no-hitter for about 7 innings against the Phillies, and he's given them no runs in his last 13 innings, or 13 2/3 innings. So, yeah, I think I'm going to back Arrighetti here. I know that Verlander was not very good yesterday. Verlander seems like definitely a shell of his former self, but Arrighetti's been good. Martinez has been surprisingly decent since re-entering the rotation, but he has struggled a bit recently, giving up 4+ runs in 2 of his last 3, 3+ runs in 3 of his last 4. I still think Houston's the better team, obviously. But when you're looking at Arrighetti, who's been in great form, I do think there's some value in Houston. I'll take the Astros.
One of these tennis players has got a very pretty girlfriend, Scott. The director seems quite sweet.
That's Fritz.
Is that Fritz, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It hasn't gone unnoticed by the director. He's cut to her about 15 times since I put it on the telly 3 minutes ago. I'm pleased with Arrighetti because I talked him up a little bit. So it's one of my rare occasions I've got something right, because he's now doing what I thought he was capable of. Back-to-back scoreless efforts against good opposition as well. That's key. Philadelphia and Baltimore, those last 2 efforts, made him quite a profitable pitcher to follow. There's no reason he can't continue here. And Nick Martinez just hasn't been as sharp lately. 6, 3, and 4 earned runs in 3 of his last 4 starts. He's much worse at home, and he's been much worse in the last 6 starts. So -134. We're also getting the better team. You've just said it. We're getting the better offense as well. Houston at -134 is a perfectly fair price. The next game is off the board, and I'm not entirely sure why. It's the 6:50 Eastern between the Minnesota Twins and the Tampa Bay Rays. Both pitchers are officially TBD. Although I think it's Pablo Lopez and Taj Bradley. I don't know if there's possibly someone coming back off the IL, which normally throws these things up in the air a little bit. But I've seen no lines on this one at all. Do you think it's those two pitchers, Scott?
I think it should be. I mean, I haven't seen any news that would suggest it wasn't any of those guys, so I don't know why there are no lines.
I mean, it was fairly straightforward, a handicap on the face of it. Pablo Lopez, this has actually gone underneath my radar. I haven't sort of handicapped him. I must have missed him a few shows. He's been absolutely stellar lately. The Lopez we kind of expected to see all season. 20 and 2/3, scoreless streak, which is a great effort, covering a 3-game span. He had a 171 August ERA. And again, you have to trust him, especially against this misfiring Tampa Bay Rays offense. Taj Bradley's capable, but he's really struggling. His last 5 games started, he's given up 8, 5, 3, 6, and 5 earned runs, all in losses, all on the run line. Rays hitting 217 in the last 30 days. So I like Minnesota. I like Minnesota on the run line. And I like a Tampa Bay Rays team total under. So whichever one of them, when we do see some lines, takes your fancy, get involved in one of them, Scott.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Minnesota minus 1.5 in this game.
Yeah.
I recognize that the game is in Tampa, which you could argue is actually good for Minnesota run line because they're the road team getting 9 at-bats. But I can't ignore the fact that Bradley's been horrible. He was very good for about 2 months, and then he, I'd say, evened it out by being atrocious for about 2 straight months. So I can't back him because he's been that bad. So if you want to go for the actual, I think, value here, it's probably a Minnesota minus 1.5 because Lopez has been good recently. And he's kind of been the opposite of Bradley because he was really bad earlier in the year, and now he's turned it around. So I'd rather back the pitcher in better form. We know that Tampa can't really hit, and Lopez has given up no runs in 3 straight starts. That's kind of tough to ignore. When you have 20-plus innings in a row, giving up no runs, I'm going to like your chances. So give me Minnesota minus 1.5.
Yeah, agree with you there, Scott. We've been on the same page so far. Next up is at the top of the page is 7:10 Eastern. The Boston Red Sox at the New York Mets. It is Tanner Houck for Boston. Tyler McGill draws the start for the Mets. Relatively close on the books. Boston minus 116 with the Mets at minus 102. Scott, the total is 8.
So even though I acknowledge that I think Houck is the better pitcher in this matchup than McGill, I don't know if I could back Boston at all. Just based on how they've played for the last couple of weeks. The bullpen we know has been terrible. The rotation has been very good. They've been a mess, though. They've scored 1 run in each of the last 3 games. They can't hit. They've actually scored less than 4 runs in, 5 of their last 6. So they can't hit at all. But I think you're looking at a spot where I might actually have to lean to the Mets. Even though Houck is better, as far as I'm concerned, the Red Sox have been kind of in free fall. They're only 2 games over. Their playoff chances are dwindling day by day. The Mets, though, have been good again. They've won 5 straight. They've looked pretty sharp. Yes, but they played the White Sox. That doesn't really count, but still counts on the standings and the actual record, if that matters. But I'll go Mets here. Even though Houck, I think, is fine, I would probably take him over McGill. I still can't trust Boston. This team is completely falling apart. They can't hit, and I think I got to go with the Mets, who've been kind of rolling lately. Lindor's been good. Alonso's kind of picked it up recently. But I like the form of the team. They're going for that wild card spot, and the Red Sox playoff hopes are probably over at this point based on how they've played for the last couple months, or a couple weeks at least. So I'll go with the Mets here. I just think that the price is cheap, fading a team that's in free fall.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, Scott, but I'm actually going to give Boston my vote here. I'm going to give Boston one. Just because McGill's that bad, I think. Tanner Houck he's got one bad start against Arizona in his game, though, but he's generally reliable. He's really steady. There's nothing in his splits. You can't sort of pick a hole in Houck. He's steady Eddie all the way across. across the board, 283 road ERA. Now, McGill's last start was okay, but it was against the White Sox, and that doesn't count, remember. Struggling and losing games before that. So, as much as you say Boston have completely dropped off, they are going to pick up the odd win, and this looks like a spot they can do it in. Just on the Mets, one player who every time I check in on the Mets, I'm beginning to get a bit enamoured with, and I know he is quite a big name anyway, Francisco Lindor. It just seems to pick this Mets team up on his shoulders. They sort of go how he goes. I think he's really been quite a talisman for Lindor and a very, very good player as well. I quite like what he's done. He seems quite easy to root for. So I've been enjoying Lindor a lot. But I'm going to give Boston one. They can get a win tomorrow. Treb's joined us. Trev, how you doing? Nathan's joined us. Nathan's had some bad news. I hope that gets sorted, Nathan. That's terrible crap. We'll try and get you on the road with a couple of winners, but just go steady. Underdog Fantasy, pick him, gives you a chance to win 1,000 times your entry. The NFL is back, and there's a ton of pick 'em specials to get you started. You can use specials and boosts on all flexed entries. Use our code MLB SGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code MLB SGPN. If you do sign up with that this week, you get your special pick. I'll tell you who to use it on. Adam Thielen is the answer. Didn't expect an Adam Thielen sighting on the MLB show, did you? But yeah, get higher Adam Thielen's receiving yards this week with your special pick. There you go, Nathan. There's one step on the road to recovery. Adam Thielen. 7:20 Eastern first pitch. We will have a look at. I could easily have left this game out, actually, because it's a really dull handicap. The Colorado Rockies at the Atlanta Braves. It is, what's his name? Hayden? I'm going to guess Hayden. Bradley. Oh, I was close. Bradley Blaylock for the Rockies and Charlie Morton for the Braves. Braves, very, very short. -275. The Rockies are +225. And the total here is at 8.5. I handicapped Blaylock last week, had concerns about him, even though he's got a couple of little flashes in his game log. Had concerns about him last week, and we're absolutely right when he gave up 6 earned runs against Miami. So I feel like I've got a little bit of a bead on him. And even though he has shown little bits, this doesn't look like a great spot for him to try and follow up that disaster against the Marlins. Charlie Morton's been absolutely fine. 2 or 3 earned runs every start. But when he just goes 6 innings or thereabouts, that's generally good enough. I think a standard Charlie Morton start here sees Atlanta finishing 3 or 4 runs ahead of Colorado. So, yeah, it's not big, it's not clever, but the Atlanta run line, Scott, sometimes it's just that easy. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm really on the fence on this one because Morton, as you said, has been fine, and that's probably what you need. Blaylock, besides the last start's been fine too. Now, I know that you can look under the hood and his overall advanced numbers aren't exactly the best. So people were kind of expecting regression, which ended up happening. However, Atlanta's had a hard time hitting recently. I know the Phillies' rotation is dangerous, and they struggled in the last couple games of that series, scoring 2 runs combined. I think for this one, I might actually lean to the over in this game. I don't know how much faith I should put in Blaylock or Morton. Like, I think Morton is a pitcher who's been fine, but he doesn't really light it up in general. I feel like most of the time his numbers are pretty generic and occasionally he gets shelled. Has been better at home, though, than on the road, but I think I'll lean over. I'm probably not going to bet this game. I don't really see enough value on any side or total for me to actually bet this, but I'll lean over in the game. I think the Rockies bullpen's always good enough to get shelled in this ballpark, and you're looking at 2 starters I'm not really totally thrilled with. So I'll lean to the over in the game. A couple ways to get there. I think Colorado can contribute a couple against Morton, and that might be all you need. So only to the over in this game.
The run line price is -134 in that one for the Braves. USA. Your man Wood, Scott, is that into the semi-finals now? When's the British bloke on? Is he on tonight?
British bloke is on tomorrow. He plays against the Australian.
Oh, we don't like the Aussies. Right, so we can cheer the British bloke on tomorrow. Right, where are we going next? Let's have a look. 7:40 Eastern first pitch is the Cleveland Guardians at the Kansas City Royals. It is, oh, there's a girlfriend again, his girlfriend. Ben Lively for the Guardians and Seth Lugo for the Kansas City Royals. -134 Kansas City. Cleveland +114. Total, Scott, 8.5.
Yeah, so for this one, I had a pretty good read on the Friday show. I said that I thought Kansas City was going to get swept by Houston, and they did. So I'm going to keep fading Kansas City. I feel like ever since Pasquantino ended up getting injured, really ever since they blew the finale against the Guardians last week, they've fallen apart. They haven't won a game since. Lively, though, has been good. Lugo has had a pretty underwhelming past couple of months. Was definitely better his last start. Was good against the Astros. Gave up 1 run in 7 innings. And they still lost. In fact, if you want to look at his last couple of starts, the Royals have lost 4 of his last 5. But Lively's been good. And I think Cleveland has once again regained control of the division. They were tied basically for a day, and now they've kind of taken it over again. So I'll go with Cleveland because Kansas City right now is slumping. Pasquantino was one of their main RBI guys. He's going to be out for the rest of the season, most likely, at least the regular season. I don't want anything to do with Kansas City, so I'll go with the Guardians based on current form.
Yeah, Kansas City, it's not been a great week or so for them, you're right. They've slipped 4.5 games back when they were absolutely on the charts before that. They're hanging on to a wild card spot, so they've got plenty to play for. They do need to regroup. You're right, that Pasquantino injury does seem to have affected them somewhat. Ben Lively, he's not been as good. Early season, he was really good. I was quite happy to take him in a number of spots early in the season. But he gets loads of run support. His last 3 wins have been 10-8, 13-5, and 9-8. So we got 18 and 17 runs in all of those. Lugo appeared to have fallen off, and then we got a little bounce back last time against Houston. But he had been dodgy for a little while before that, so it's hard to trust the one good game rather than the litany of average ones that preceded it. This is tricky. The Royals have got the offensive edge. Cleveland have got the bullpen edge. Both pitchers edged the over recently. So that was my line, really. I found it really hard to split them. But both pitchers, like I say, are going over in their game logs, way over 500. So that's going to be my pick here. I'm going to take the over 8.5, just based on the data and the trends. But it was a tricky one. Next game we'll have a look at is the 7:40 Eastern first pitch between the St. Louis Cardinals and the Milwaukee Brewers. Sonny Gray for the Cardinals and Colin Rea for the Brewers. -112 the Cards, -104 for Travis Brewers, with a total sitting at 7.5. So I faded Sonny Gray last time out, and it cost me. I was completely wrong.
So did
He pitched. Sorry?
So did I. It wasn't a fun time.
I think we may have done this last Wednesday or Thursday, Scott. In the game against the Padres, he pitched beautifully against the Padres. Only giving up 1 earned run there. Again, though, a little bit like Lugo in that last game, it's one good game preceded by a lot of sort of average starts, and it's hard to trust him, especially on the road. 5.62 road ERA. Colin Rea has got plenty of wins next to his name, even though he's not been at his best lately. But the Brewers have got a clear advantage on offense here, and with a bullpen. So I do prefer the Brewers. Both teams are clearly more profitable towards the over in the last 30 days as well. That total's too low, 7.5. So I like the Brewers. I like the over. You can parlay them if you're feeling a bit frisky, but either one of them will get us over the line, I think, Scott.
Yeah, I think for the sake of this matchup, I'm going to go with Milwaukee. I know Gray was great last start. I'll basically dare him to duplicate it because he was in pretty bad form before that, but it's mostly just based on the overall talent disparity between these teams. Milwaukee's so much better. It's not even close. They're up by a ton in the division. Division race has been over for, I don't know, 2-3 months at this point. We're looking at the Cardinals, who have really not been playing. They've been better recently. I mean, they beat the Yankees in a series. A lot of hits recently. But I do think that you're looking at Rhea, who's been fine. He's 12-4 this season, so no complaints. He has been worse recently, though, giving up at least 4 runs in 3 of his last 4 starts. If you want to go for a prop I actually like in this game, I don't mind the Rhea over hits allowed prop. I've been backing this with the Cardinals recently. It's been going pretty well. This team does make a lot of contact. Are they going to be able to generate a lot of runs? No, because they don't have many power hitters, but they generate contact, and that's usually good for hits allowed. So I don't mind that prop if you want to go for that for Rhea. But he's been fine this season, 12-4, get some run support, but it's mostly based on the talent disparity here. The line just feels too cheap to me. I get that Gray bounced back, but Milwaukee's 10 games up on the Cubs, 12 games up on the Cardinals. There's just a massive talent gap here, and Milwaukee's at home. For value, I think I have to go with Milwaukee. I think they're just the better team, and it's not really close.
Yeah, that's what I thought. If you look at the pitching match, I mean, you try and split them up. But then if you just side by side, even with a basic look screen when it's all green and red, the talent gap it's stark, it's obvious. And that was a big part of the handicap. Bullpen and offense.
I mean, even the
completely
pitchers.
agree.
If you want to talk about Gray against Rhea's numbers are actually pretty similar. The whips are basically the same. Rhea's ERA is lower. Like, you make the argument that Rhea this season's been better than Gray, at least based on stats. Now, according to talent, I think Gray's the better pitcher. But I feel like even if you want to make the argument starters only, just drawing a comparison, it's closer than people want to, make it. Like, Rhea's been pretty good this year. I feel like he's kind of underrated.
How many games have the Brewers won now? Well, there we go. So I know you cashed a season-long prop on April the 5th or whatever the hell it was, Scott. But one of the favourite picks, and we talked to Trev about this quite a lot, was the Brewers to win 80 games was even money, Scott. Even money. What we 3rd of September, and they've already cracked it. Absolutely one of my favourite picks of the off season. Mentioned it a lot, so well done, me. Is what we're going to say to that one. Where are we going? Rhythm. Talking about shrewd judges. It's not just me. Rhythm have got you sorted out for football coming up. And the models. There are some top models that you can use, or if you're good enough, it's loads of fun to build your own model over there. You can key in whatever you think's most important. Get your betting model going. Projections for money lines, spreads, totals, anything you want. The Rhythm College football model had Colorado versus North Dakota State under 59.5 last week. Was an easy winner. So claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And Game Time, the authorised ticket marketplace for MLB. Get yourself across. I know a lot of the network boys and girls have used it. Sean and Ryan have been off to a few Dodgers games. Dodgers Phillies they went to see. Ticket prices go down nearer first pitch. You've got last minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals. The Game Time guarantee will credit you 110% of the difference if you can find the tickets cheaper anywhere else. The thing to do is download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code SGPN for $20 off your first purchase. Create an account, redeem the code SGPN, $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Next up is a 8:05 Eastern first pitch between the New York Yankees and the Texas Rangers. Marcus Stroman for the Yankees, Nathan Eovaldi. So you've got a couple of old heads here. Eovaldi for the Rangers. Close on the books, -102 Texas, -116 New York. Total is 8.5. I think I know which way you'll go here, Scott. So you take us away, and I'll tell you if I was right.
Yeah, so I'm actually leaning more towards the total in this game. I actually like the under in the spot. I think 8.5 is too high. You're looking at Eovaldi, who's kind of pieced together again. I know he was struggling about a month ago, but he has been better as he has gone 4 straight starts, allowing less than 4 runs. Did end up giving up only 1 hit against the White Sox. Once again, a double-A team, but still 1 hit, no runs, 10 strikeouts last start. So he has been in better form recently. Stroman was also kind of in the same boat where he was in the middle of a slump about a month or two ago, but then he's kind of picked it up again as he has allowed less than 4 runs in 4 straight starts. only 6 runs allowed in his last 4 starts combined. And he has been good on the road. So far this season on the road, a 5-1 record, a 2.56 ERA. 8.5 feels too high for me. I actually kind of like the starters in this game. If you want to go for the first 5 under at 4.5, I don't mind it. But I think I like the under, actually. I don't mind a kind of a low-key pitcher's duel between these two guys.
Well, you've surprised me there, Scott, because I thought you'd just put Stroman in auto fade.
No, he's been good lately.
Right.
I can't put him in auto fade.
Exactly. You're a very shrewd man. You made all the right points. He's got 4 decent starts in a row, 6 earned runs, 3 wins. Saw Texas on August the 11th, where he gave up 1 earned through 5 innings. Still walks a couple too many. The splits favour him. That road ERA of 2.56. And he's bringing his ERA steadily back down again. After he did have that mid-season wobble where you were right to fade him. Uvalde, 7 scoreless last time against the White Sox. Doesn't count, you're right. Been steady before that, if not great. But I think the Yankees have got the edge. Again, just this Texas lineup just doesn't do much. And we did explain last night that, we didn't explain. We discussed, myself and Munaf, that there's something not quite right about the Yankees, something in their fundamentals, and I'm not sure what it is. I'm not good enough to put my finger on it. We talked about defensive alignments or approaches at the plate. I don't think they've the finished article at all, the Yankees, but I think they're in a good position here. Minus 116. I'll take a little punt on your New York Yankees. We're going next to a 9:40 Eastern first pitch between the Detroit Tigers and the San Diego Padres. Keda Montero for the Tigers. For the Padres, Yu Darvish is back. And the Padres are minus 180. The Tigers plus 152. Total here is 7.5. We'll start with Keda Montero for the Tigers. 4-6, 5.17 ERA. Generally, 5 and dive is what you get out of Montero. He did have a little streak of wins going, but that was snapped last week against the Angels. Actually picked him last week. He got in trouble early on. He also got 0 help off the Tigers. They just kept hitting it in double plays. The Angels got to it. I say the Angels. It wasn't the Angels. It was Zach Neto. He's their only hitter. Zach Neto can either hit a double or he can walk and steal. That's all they've got. But really quite underwhelming generally, Montero. Darvish hasn't pitched since May the 29th. I thought he might represent some value, but the books aren't cutting us any slack here with a minus 180 price. The conflicting splits to the over and the under between the pitchers and the side, so that doesn't help. True Degens, Gio gets involved in this. Montero and the Padres grade out really well to the Yerfie. So we don't mention it much, but that stood out. That jumped off the page at me if you're interested in that. I prefer the Padres, but it's not too strong. Like I say, I thought we might get a little value play with Darvish coming back off the IL, but we're not. Minus 180 isn't really a working man's price. I would have this one way down my card, Scott.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to bet it, but I got to go with the Tigers here. I just feel like this price is absurd for a guy who hasn't pitched in the majors in months. And Darvish was not very good before. Actually, no, he was having a pretty good year. But the point is, I do think that with the lack of certainty with his performance, at least based on the last couple months, I can't lay 180. Like, that's a crazy price. I understand that the Padres are the more talented team. I know they're getting Tatis back at some point. I think I heard that on news report yesterday. Point is, though, Detroit, Montero's been okay. Like, he's been better recently than he was when he first started starting games this season, but I just think minus 180 is too steep. I have no idea what we're going to get from Darvish, so I think the line should be closer. For value alone, I'll fade Darvish, and hopefully he just looks underwhelming his first outing back. So I'll go with Detroit for value. I don't mind the over, though. I think 7.5 is too low.
Yeah, 7.5 is a low number. You're absolutely right. Finally, the full handicap of a 9:45 Eastern first pitch between the Arizona Diamondbacks and the San Francisco Giants. Zach Gallen is confirmed for the Snakes. Giants TBD, as per usual. I believe it to be Hayden Birdsong for the Giants, who are plus 116 at home. The Diamondbacks minus 136, total 7.5. Scott.
Yeah, so I think I'm going to go with Arizona in this one. Did lose the series to the Dodgers, not because of the offense, though. The offense was very good, as the offense did score. It's actually almost impossible. The offense scored 6+ runs in all 4 games, and they went 1-3. That's pretty rough. The offense, though, has been good, so I feel like I have to back the current good form of this offense. The Giants, though, another better at home. They're 2 games under 500. They're just a streaky team. They're going to finish below 500, but they had a decent run a couple weeks ago, then immediately fell apart. They lost a home series to the Marlins, which isn't ideal. Offensively, they're not great. Pitching-wise, they're okay, but I think Arizona's the better team, if you want me to break it down simply put, because I know Corbin Carroll's been really good for the last month, and I think that he can perform well in the spot. Birdsong's been kind of up and down this season, where he started off fine, then he got shelled, and now he's kind of bounced back to some degree at least. But then he got shelled by Milwaukee. He gave up 5 runs in 3 2/3, and the Giants have actually lost 5 straight starts that he's made. So I can't trust Birdsong. I think Arizona's the better team. Give me the Diamondbacks in the spot.
Yeah, the key element to all of this was that is the Diamondbacks offense. You just mentioned how many runs they scored in that last series. 6.5 runs per game last month. Because Gallen's quite hard to trust. He's given up plenty of runs, not as good on the road. He hasn't been good through the summer. He was fine kind of spring, early summer. The dog days have got to him a little bit. We did fade Birdsong. I think this was Mig and you last week. We faded Birdsong. It was, I think it was Aaron Savale going for the Brewers, and we absolutely nailed it. So his August ERA was 8.66. Arizona's bullpen's absolutely fine as well. So I do like Arizona. I was waiting to see what the prices were. I think the over 7.5's in play because Gallen's been ropey, so Giants should be able to join in. So I like the over, and I do like Arizona here at -136. Scott, there's a couple of games we haven't got to particularly anything there jump off at you. Shorter in August pitching for the Cubs, but the Pirates are TBD, so we didn't have much on that one. As I mentioned, the Orioles White Sox is a little bit of a matchup. We've got Mackenzie go against Valente Balozzo, which might be. I might have a look at that game actually. That's not a bad game. And then Griffin Cannon goes for the Angels, which is generally an auto fade spot as well. So just going around the bottom draw, Scott. Anything blow your skirt up?
Yeah, I think if I was going to mention one other play, it does involve back in the Angels offense, kinda. But I like the over in the Dodgers-Angels game. Canning, as you said before, has been an auto fade. Miller has not been good this season, and the Dodgers have scored at least 6 runs in 5 of their last 6. So I'll back the Dodgers to do some damage, maybe tonight against Detmers too. But I do think with Miller pitching, who's been a mess this season too, I like the over in that Dodgers game.
Okay, thank you. And now, Scott, lock and dog. What do you have?
All right, so for my lock and dog, I feel like I'm going to be pretty straightforward with these. I just have to figure out which one I want to do more. It's either Houston money line or it's going to be going with the money line price for the who was it that I wanted? Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. It was either Houston or Arizona. Those are the two that I was thinking about. Give me Houston on the money line at -134. Arrigetti's been good. I can't believe it. I'm backing the guy that I've been roasting for about 4 months, but he's earned it. He's got himself out of the meme territory, and he's been a very solid pitcher. So I think he's going to look sharp here, and I think that based on how he's been performing and based on how Cincinnati's been struggling, yes, they won the first game of the series. Verlander is just washed at this point. Like, I feel like there's not much left in the tank, and you ended up seeing that yesterday again, as he's been struggling for the entire season. But I think they'll bounce back. I still think Houston's in better form, and I do think Arrighetti should get the job done. So give me Houston money line at -134 as my lock. For my dog, I think there are a couple angles I could go with, but I got to think of which one I want to go with, because I thought about Cleveland, but that game still could be close. Thought about Detroit, actually, just fading potentially Darvish in his first start in eternity. But I think for this one, I mean, the Brewers don't count. They're even money. I got to find something here. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to go with one of them I just mentioned. I think I am actually going to go with Cleveland on the money line at +120. Lugo had one good start recently, but he was struggling before that. Lively's been good this season, but it's mostly Kansas City who's fallen apart. They've lost, I think it's 6 straight. With Pascatino being out, though, they can't really hit. and the bullpen has not been good lately. I think I got to go with Cleveland. They've regained control of this division. Kansas City's in free fall. Lively's been good. I think it's a decent price for what I think is at least a coin flip. So give me the Guardians here at plus 120 on the money line as my dog.
So the two locks I had were the two locks you wanted, Houston and Arizona. So I'll take Arizona, but it's effectively a double lock from myself and Scott. I'll take Arizona to turn over the Giants. And I 100% thought you were going to steal my dog there, but you didn't. And it's the Twins on the run line to turn over the Tampa Bay Rays and Bradley. Lopez, bulletproof lately.
It's gonna be plus money. I just didn't have a line on it, so I decided to just skip it. But,
yeah, well, yeah, definitely. I'd be guessing about plus 130, maybe somewhere along there. I think seems reasonable. So yeah, I'll take the Twins on the run line. And finally, time traveling dingers. Can we get one? And can we get it on the right day, Scott? Come on.
I'm a little bit salty because I gave out Teoscar Hernandez for the games yesterday. He went 5 for 5 with a double and a triple, but he had no home runs, which is pretty unfortunate. 5 for 5 with a triple for Teoscar, but we'll try to get back on track here. So trying to think of who I want to go with, because there weren't many pitchers that kind of jumped off the page. It was like, wow, I just expected to get absolutely destroyed in the start. If you want to go based on current form, you probably want to fade Taj Bradley, just based on how bad he's been. He has given up 6 home runs in his last 4 starts, so that could be a decent spot if you want to back a Twins batter. Looking at the head-to-head history, though, he really hasn't given up many home runs, but Royce Lewis is 3 for 5 lifetime with a home run against him, so I think that's a pretty decent angle here. However, he's been really, really bad on the road. That's kind of the problem for Lopez. I mean, that's been the problem for Lewis, but he has had at least 1 hit in 4 straight, had a double in 2 of the last 3, had a home run against the Blue Jays, on Sunday. I'll go with him. I'll fade Taj, who's been really bad lately, and he's going to be giving up some hard contact. Give me Royce Lewis as my home run pick for the Wednesday card.
Okay, I think I might have got one here. Yeah, I have got one. So it's a bit of a crossfire because I took Boston to win the game against the Mets, but let me just confirm. Yeah, I'm all right with this. And very nearly went back to Connor Norby. I feel like Connor Norby owes me in his number. Plays for Miami. His numbers pop against these lefties. And last week he did lots of things, a little bit like Teoscar for you, but he didn't hit the homer. So I'll give Norby an honourable mention, but I'm going to go for Tyler O'Neill of the Red Sox. So even though the Mets are going to win the game, Tyler O'Neill can very much hit a bomb off Tyler McGill. Yeah, I like his numbers in that one. Scott, we did it. A nice cheeky 45 minutes. Anything you want to tell us about before we let you go?
Not really. Once again, if you want some thoughts on tennis, the lock and dog picks actually haven't happened yet for my tennis episode. So if you want some thoughts on the U.S. Open quarterfinals, check out the Tennis Gambling Podcast. I know that Terrell and I did an episode for the WNBA games tonight, but I know those games start in about an hour or so. So if you want some basketball thoughts tonight, we got you covered there too. But yeah, football's up, and I'm on no NFL shows, but I'm doing a college show for a different network. So there's that. If you want to find that on Twitter, you can. But yeah, keep me busy for football season.
Yeah, the Premier League's an international break. The worst, absolute worst. Every time I remember, it sort of my heart just sinks to my boots. I'll be going along my daily business, think, oh, football at the weekend, and then you remember, oh shit, it's the international break. It's horrible. But yeah, back to British bloke in the tennis. That's my advice. You don't need to listen to any tennis gambling podcasts. Back the British bloke. If you don't want to do that, go and listen to Scott. Thanks, Scott. That was fun. Thank you, everyone in the chat. William, Gio, Roberto, Trev, Nathan. Look forward to this time tomorrow. Myself and Dylan will have a go at Thursday's baseball card. So good luck with all your picks. Like, rate, review, all of that shenanigans. We will see you all down the road. Cheers.